Hey guys, so we're going to do chapter 7, section 3 today, our triangle notes. Two ways we can classify triangles, by our angles and our sides. If you have not already uploaded your blank notes sheet from Canvas, go ahead and do that. Today we are just filling out our notes, and then Wednesday and Thursday you will be using the notes to do a few practice problems. Okay. All right, so on the first set of notes, we're going to classify triangles by their angles, the inside of their angles. Starting on the left, you can look at this triangle and see that all of the angles on the inside of the triangle are all acute, meaning they are all less than 90. So if all three are less than 90, we're going to classify this triangle as an acute triangle. Going to the right, on this triangle there is one obtuse angle, obtuse meaning greater than 90 degrees. The other two would be acute. So two acute angles, one obtuse angle. If it has one obtuse angle, we're going to classify this as an obtuse triangle. Okay, so all three have to be acute in order to classify it as acute. There will be just one obtuse angle in order for it to be classified as an obtuse triangle. Moving over to the right, we see the right angle, 90 degrees, which makes this a right triangle. And then finally, this one may be new to us, three congruent angles. Remember, congruent means same. Three congruent angles. And if you look inside, they have each one arch, saying that all three of these angles are congruent. They're all equal. So all angles are congruent, all angles are equal. We call this an equiangular triangle. Equiangular. All three angles are the same measure. We can also classify triangles by their side lengths. If you look carefully, there are tick marks here and here on the second one, and over to the far right one, there are 3 tick marks. If you look over at the far left, there are no tick marks on this triangle, which means there are no congruent sides. Congruent meaning the same, all the measures are different on this first triangle. There's no sides that are the same measure. So no congruent sides means that this is a scalene triangle. The middle one, there are 2 sides that have the same measure. When there are 2 sides that have the same measure, we identify this as isosceles triangle. ISOSCELES, there we go. And then on the last one, there are 3 measures that are congruent, 3 measures that are the same. So we call this an equilateral triangle. Okay. So no sides, scalene, 2 sides that are the same, isosceles, 3 sides, congruent, are equilateral. Okay. And then this is what we've already said over and over already today. Congruent sides have the same length or measure. Okay. We are going to skip this next one because it's helping us practice drawing triangles with given measures. And since we don't have a protractor at home, we're going to skip over that one, but feel free to use those examples to practice if you wish. Okay, and then we're going to go right here to classifying each triangle by its sides and its angles. Okay, so let's start with its sides. If you look at the side measures on the outside, there are no tick marks, which means all 3 measures have different lengths. So we're going to say that this is a scalene triangle. And now we need to identify it by its angles. Angles are the inside. It is very hard to see. It looks like 115, 25, and 40. So I've got two acute angles, one obtuse greater than 90. So this is an obtuse triangle. So we're going to say this is scalene obtuse triangle or obtuse scalene triangle. Okay. Looking at B, let's classify it by its sides. Okay, so we have a tick mark here and a tick mark here. So we've got two sides that have the same measure, which means that's an isosceles triangle. And then if we look at the angles on the inside, those two are the same. They're acute. This one's also acute. So three angles that are less than 90 is an acute triangle. So that triangle is isosceles and acute. Okay, I encourage you to go ahead and pause the video and do numbers 1 and 2, and then unpause to see if you get these two correct. Okay, so for number 1, let's identify it by its side measures. So we have a tick mark here and a tick mark here, which means two sides have the same measure. So we're going to identify this as isosceles triangle. And then by its angles, a 45, but again, we see that little box telling us that this is a right triangle. So this is an isosceles right triangle or a right isosceles triangle. And then number 2, it's got 3 angles that have the same measure. They're all congruent. And if you look at the end side angles, all 3 angles are the same as well. So we can say that this is equilateral and equiangular. Okay. And those other two below, 3 and 4, are all about practicing drawing angles. So again, we're going to skip those and not worry about those as of right now. So use this video to help you with your work